Welcome to this edition of the Mayor's Report for Pleasanton. I'm your host, Splendorio. Joining me today is Mayor Carla Brown from the beautiful city of Pleasanton. Welcome, Carla.
Oh, thank you, and it's a gorgeous day downtown Pleasanton.
We have a special show. You have a special guest. Would you like to introduce our guest?
I sure would. My guest today is Chief Joe Testa, and Chief Testa started his 28-year, you don't have enough gray hair for that.
Oh, I do.
28-year fire service career as an on-call firefighter. Maybe he'll let us know what that means. And then he was a firefighter paramedic prior to joining our Livermore Pleasanton Fire Department in 1996, which doesn't sound that long ago, does it? He started as a firefighter in Pleasanton before the consolidation of both Livermore and Pleasanton together, and he has been one of those superstars in our department. He's moved up the ranks from an engineer to a fire captain to a battalion chief, and then he has served as our chief since 2022, and I'm very proud to have been there when he got his chief's pen in actually the city of Livermore.
Welcome, Chief Testa. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So, it's hot, it's summer, it's always a good time to talk about fire safety, and that's why you're here. So let's talk a little bit about what can our viewers do to make their homes more safe from fires? Let's just start with just big question, but we can drill down.
Sure, yeah, we are unfortunately off to a very busy wildfire year, as everybody's seen in the media, and even locally we've had some significant fires. I'd be happy to share a little information about those, but preparedness is really the key. The state uses, CAL FIRE uses Ready, Set, Go, and we've adopted that locally as well. So Ready means when you're building a house, when you're doing a remodel, you're using fire-safe materials that won't catch fire right away. You're keeping your gutters clean, you're keeping vegetation and flammables away from the house. Everybody's heard for a number of years 30 or 100 feet, and that's actually moved up a little bit. They're saying now the best science is to have all flammables 5 feet away from the house. So that's on the ready side. Then the set, make sure you know how you're going to get out. Make sure you have your go bag ready, those important things that you know that you need to grab so that you're not tempted to return for them. And then go. When you get the alert, go. So if there's an evacuation warning, those are to help people that may need a little extra time, have livestock, have pets, and just need a little extra time to get out. But when the actual evacuation notice comes, make sure you get out.
Okay. Chief, let's talk a little bit, especially about in the city first, and then we can talk about maybe more of the wildfires going on in the state.
Sure.
But if you're in an apartment, or you're in a condominium, or you're a single family residence, what are some of the tips that you want to impart on those residents to keep themselves safe? And I know that electrical fires and stoves and things like that can all be fire hazards, right?
Sure. The biggest causes of fire in our communities are kitchen fires and garage fires. So being aware of those chemicals in the garage, the things that are plugged in that maybe don't have to be plugged in and can be unplugged, storing oily rags can actually create their own combustion and cause a fire, and then kitchens. So stove related and generally unattended is the most common cause. So you start cooking something and run an errand and forget that the oven or stove are on. So it's really important to make sure that you don't do that. If you think you've done that, run home and turn it off. It's worth the time. And then just general fire safety around the house. Make sure you have a fire extinguisher. Make sure you know the exit plan, how to get out in case of an emergency. If you're on a second floor or a higher floor, you might need a ladder or some other device to have your second way out, but have at least 2 ways out.
All right, Chief, I wanted, you mentioned about garage fires, and then people keep combustible materials or chemicals, things like that. Do we want to remind our viewers that is there a way to dispose of them if they have things that could be dangerous?
Sure. So locally, it's located in Livermore. There's household hazardous waste. It's run through the county. You can find information on that online. But while they're at your house, most of us don't do things that create that level of risk. But if you do, if it's a hobby, you're a woodworker and you're going to have those types of solvents and things around, there are proper ways to store them, and it doesn't take a ton of research to find out. Metal cabinets, metal buckets. Fire sprinklers in residences are a real lifesaver. So if you're building a house, it's the code here. But if I were doing my own house somewhere where it wasn't the code, I would do it in a heartbeat. They work well, they save lives.
All right, so Chief, let's talk a little bit more, maybe not necessarily in the more denser parts of Pleasanton, but if you're on the west side, up in the hills, or you're maybe in Happy Valley area, a little bit more rural areas, what do folks do there to keep their houses safe?
Yeah, so that would tie back to that ready part of the ready, set, go. When you're doing construction, whether it's new construction or a remodel, think about the fire risk as you're doing that construction. There are composite decking materials that are less flammable that are available. You can keep stored materials away from the house. Make sure that you keep your vegetation away from the house. So really no vegetation within that 5-foot circle. 30 to 100 feet, fire safe plants, things like lawns and other fire safe plants. And then 100 feet and out would be the safe area, where that gives us a 100-foot circle. If we need to, we can come put a fire engine and say that this house is defensible and we're going to fight this fire and keep it from getting to that house. General maintenance, keeping the gutters clean, making sure that you don't put anything flammable into a flammable container. So another fire that we've had a few times over the years are some charcoal briquettes thrown into that they thought were out, but they didn't soak them, and they threw them into the garbage can, and the can on the side of the house burns up. And, yeah, unfortunately causes a fire.
And I know this is applicable both if you're in more denser areas, or also maybe on the outside of part of the city. Is you mentioned briquettes, but just it's summertime and people want to have barbecues and use, whether it's a charcoal or whether it's a gas or propane. Are there any safety tips you might offer people that for when you're cooking outside?
Yeah, so I'm not all bad news. Barbecuing is actually a pretty safe activity. We have very few barbecue-related incidents, fortunately. Doesn't mean that they can't cause fires. So if you can safely approach the barbecue and it's got some flames that are out of control, if it's a gas barbecue, shut that gas source off. And then if you can get a little water in there, whether it's a spray bottle, a hose, a cup of water, and close the lid and turn it to steam, you'll pretty much extinguish the vast majority of the fires. If you can't, call us, and call us early. We don't mind coming and checking things out and then canceling and leaving. We'd much rather do that than have a big fire.
Oh, okay. And I think the same if you're in the park, in a public park, and you're cooking with charcoal. Just like I said, make sure it's out and try to find a can is meant for charcoal, right?
Yeah, if you can find a metal can made for that, great. Another alternative is to soak them, fully immerse the briquettes in water, just like you would a campfire or something like that.
All right. Finally, just talking about just Pleasanton in particular, are there other, besides calling you, and I'm sure you would love to have lots of phone calls, but is there a resource for residents or our viewers to access, whether it's on the web or through some other methods that they can learn more about fire safety?
Yeah, so please do call the Livermore Pleasanton Fire Department or access our website at lpfire.org. You can also email us. And then the website that I was referring to is readyforwildfire.org. That's the CAL FIRE site that has the Ready, Set, Go.
All right, so Chief, it seems, every day seems like we've had a lot of fires in California. Maybe we should turn it a little subject, or just talk about all the big fires in the northern part of the state. Give our viewers some history. Why does it seem every year just seems to be a worse fire season? Are we wrong? Am I wrong in that, or is it just seems to be getting worse?
So globally, fires are getting bigger and more intense. We do still have good years and bad years. Everybody remembers in 2020 when we were all breathing the smoke in the Bay Area and had serious fires just south of here caused by lightning. But then we got a break the last couple of years. We didn't have the number of fires, fortunately. This year, unfortunately, is off to a worse start. We've already burned more than twice the number of acres in California than we did all of last year. And as everyone knows, our season doesn't get to its worst generally until fall. Kind of that late September, October tends to be the worst of the worst. So weather is a huge factor. The winds, the dry lightning, starting the fires, when multiple fires start at once and the state resources get drawn down, it puts us in a really tough spot. So we deploy our crews locally and throughout the state. We have deployed this year to one of the earliest fires. It was a 14,000 acre fire right in our backyard on the Altamont Pass. It happened on June 1st, which is pretty early for a fire to happen. And just south of us, a little more recently, we had the Creek Fire in Sunol, held at 744 acres. We had resources there, and then everybody knows about the Park Fire, which is the biggest fire in the state right now, and is going to be one of the biggest fires in state history. And we actually do have a crew up there fighting that fire as well.
So, Chief, you mentioned a couple of things in terms of, you had a unit there, and I think I know you're Livermore Pleasanton Fire Department. However, there's a thing called mutual aid. Maybe explain to our viewers what mutual aid means, and in terms of whether you're in the county, Dublin, Castro Valley, over the Altamont, you all work together.
Correct, yeah. So we have a local agreement called automatic aid. So if something happens with one of our neighbors or something happens in Livermore or Pleasanton, we help each other out in moments, no questions asked. On the larger scale, there's the state mutual aid plan, which most fire agencies are a part of. And that's saying when the bigger disaster happens, we're going to organize and respond to your fire. So we actually get an order from the state for that. We get compensated for that deployment, so it doesn't cost the taxpayers locally money. In our case, we actually house a state-owned fire engine. If you see it around town, it's the green fire engine, and so they provide the fire engine, we provide the crew, and that's what's out at the Park Fire this year.
And now just going forward from here, I know you can't be precise, but is this season, you think, set up to be worse, or are you hoping the weather might cooperate and we've seen the worst of it?
Yeah, I'm not real optimistic. I'm hoping we get a change in the weather that makes this a more positive year for the rest of the season. But so far this season, we've already lost more than 10 times the structures that we did last year in wildfire. So this year is real. Weather, I think, will probably be the main driving factor on what happens.
Well, I know it's not always the best news, but we're so happy you were here, and at least give us, the straight answer, and also give us some ideas on how to keep our homes safe. But we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back to this edition of the Mayor's Report for Pleasanton. Welcome back to this edition of the Mayor's Report for Pleasanton. We are here talking with Mayor Carla Brown, of course, from Pleasanton. Welcome back, Carla.
Thank you, Splend.
Well, so we had a great guest, but now I know there's always some topics at the top of your mind that you want to share with our viewers. What are those?
Well, it's the one I get more emails about lately than any others, and it's the condition of our roads. So right now, the city of Pleasanton is in the process of redoing some of our main arteries in town, and in order to minimize the inconvenience and even just the flow of traffic, we're doing some of this work in the evening. So people who drive down Hop Yard Road, for example, are emailing me saying it's in terrible condition and I don't see anybody working on it. Well, you're not going down the road at 2 in the morning. So, so the biggest impact we're going to see right now, and that is Hop Yard, and it's going to be under construction from July until early September. So we're right in the prime of the work that will be done. And so that is work that will be done from Gibraltar all the way down to Valley Avenue. We've already done some work in areas like over by Case Avenue, and that's where Pleasanton Middle School, we needed to get the work done before school starts, and in front of Donlin on Dorman, and that work has already been completed. So smooth riding. Then our biggest project, which is coming up, which a lot of people are familiar with, which is West Las Positas, and we're going to be doing work on that. Smooth out your ride and make going to Harvest or going to the middle school there and other homes that are in the area. And of course, it's so important, a part of our Hacienda Business Park. So West Las Positas is coming up next.
Okay, great. Oh, that's a good public service announcement to let people remind people. It'll get better.
It will get better.
Be patient. The City Council recently placed a half-cent sales tax measure on the November ballot. Can you explain why did the council put it on the ballot?
Sure. Well, the half-cent sales tax could represent changes to the amount of services that we provide here at the City of Pleasanton. So we've never in 130 years asked our residents to help us out financially, but this year we had no other choice. And so we're asking voters to decide, do you want to pay a half-cent sales tax, which is 50 cents on $100? Do you want to pay a half-cent sales tax or not? This is the voters' decision. So the city is facing what they call a structural deficit, and a structural deficit means it's not just this year. It's going to happen for the next 8 years. We're running a negative. There are many great reasons. I'll cover just a few on how that happened. It was not a spending issue as much as it's an increase in expenses and a reduction in revenue, money coming into the city. Significant enough to have the council approve going to the ballot November 5th for this half-cent sales tax. So for people who are curious what the sales tax applies to, it applies to a variety of goods like furniture, TVs, clothing, antiques, cars, and gasoline. It does not apply to groceries, medical devices, prescription medicines, and a few other items that you could pay for if you were, for example, on food stamps. So, and then also some labor costs are exempt from sales tax. So we're looking to go to the ballot, and we're letting the voters decide, do they want to continue the services that we have now, or should we make significant, even more significant, deeper cuts? We've already cut money, $2.5 million from the budget. Now, do you want to have significant cuts which will affect services? And that's the voters' decision.
Okay, thanks, Carla. If it passes, when would it take effect? Is that right away, or does it take a while to?
It should be the 1st of January.
Okay. All right. And that it would be sufficient amount of revenue raised in order to avoid the budget cuts.
Right. It's a 10-year window, and we expect our structural deficit is going to last about 8 years. So we'll have a little bit extra to make sure that we are able to put some money aside and not have to extend this. It is 10 years. That's it. That's it.
And if there are funds above and beyond the ones needed to cover the budget structural deficit, will it be saved? Is that the intention of?
Absolutely. Okay. It'll be set aside to smooth out anything that comes up.
All right. Thank you so much for explaining that, Carla. Can you tell our viewers about, I think it's actually 111, I wrote down 110, but new homes for seniors that the council recently approved. First of all, where is this new opportunity for folks to live who are, I guess, 55 and over?
55 and over. It's a 111 subdivision, but there's one existing house.
Okay.
So that's where you're one missing one. So it's about a quarter mile south on Foothill from Foothill High School. So you'll see right now, if you drive past, it is an old, dilapidated orchard. And we refer to it as the Merritt property. And it's going to become 92 excuse me, 92 single-family, detached, separate homes. 18 are affordable courtyard, detached, and duets. That's those duets or paired houses. And then the one existing home will remain. Residents do need to be 55 and over, which doesn't seem that old to me, but that's considered senior housing. And residents will also...
I'm with you on that one. I don't think it's...
You know, it's going to be pretty exciting because there's going to be a beautiful recreation center there, and it's an extension of the Maryland Cane Trail, which goes through much of our parks and behind our Cubby Dog Park, and this will be an extension of that. And these folks that are students can actually go through this community or to the back of the community and ride their bikes right to Foothill High School. So it'll get some of those bicycles off Foothill Boulevard, which will be nice. And the builder developer is willing to commit $1 million towards a contribution of public improvements, things like that trail. So we're just at the beginning of the process, but I'm really looking forward to it. There's also some goals when the developer presented. They want an age in place. So if somebody needs a caretaker, for example, there will be some ADUs where a caretaker could live. And so folks can age in place in the city of Pleasanton.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. That's right. And now you said we're just at the beginning of the process. How long would you think it'll take before we might have some folks moving in?
Well, we're going to need to, this particular site is not in the city of Pleasanton, it's in the county. So there's an organization called LAFCO, Local Area Formation for Alameda County, that I believe you sit on, and I know I chair. And so this project will come to LAFCO for annexation from the county into the city of Pleasanton. And remember, it's right off Foothill, so it's surrounded by the city of Pleasanton. But it is a step that needs to occur, and annexation is expected to happen in 6 to 12 months. And the entire project will begin construction around 2026.
Okay. Now, Carla, I know you mentioned 55 and over. Are there any other qualifications? If I'm a Pleasanton resident, do I get first chance, or is it just open for anybody who's 55 and over?
Anyone who can afford the homes, they're not going to be inexpensive, other than those that are restricted to income. So they're going to be fairly large homes in a beautiful upscale community. So there's no preference for the at-market homes. The below-market homes, there may be. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. So for the 18 that are affordable, those are also age restricted.
They're age restricted and income restricted.
Got it. Understood. Understood. Okay. Thank you so much. That's an exciting opportunity for.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
That parcel has been working on annexation and development for more than 30 years. Wow. So it's nice that we got a 5-0 vote to support the project.
That's great. That's great. Carla, there's always wonderful things going on in Pleasanton. I'm sure you want to highlight some of the upcoming events that are going around town.
We are. We're looking for volunteers for various committees and commissions. And as mayor, I get to interview these new candidates as well as city council members that are all available. And if you are looking to make a positive impact and get involved, we want you in the city of Pleasanton. So applications are online, and you need to apply by August 26th. And official cutoff is 4 p.m. And here's some subjects and committees, commissions you might be interested in. We're looking for a civic arts commissioner, an energy and the environment commission, members, economic vitality, human services, library commission for those that love the library. We're looking for a parks and rec commissioner, a youth commissioner, which is usually the most popular. I'll just let you know that one. And Ultimate Education Advisory Board. So we do have a recommendation or requirement that for all of these, you have to live in the city of Pleasanton, except Economic Vitality Committee and Ultimate Education Advisory Board. So go onto the website. They have very specific criteria. Typically, terms are 4 years, but for Youth Commission, less than 4 years. And you can find a complete list and how to apply on the city's website, www.cityofpleasantonca.gov.
Carla, just one final question on that. Are there any, I should say proficiency, but just experience required? I mean, if you're going to be on the library committee, do you just know something about libraries or arts, things like that, or is it open for everybody?
You know, I found people are passionate about whatever their subject is, civic arts or library. When I interview library commissioners as candidates, I usually ask, how many library cards do you have? And many people have 5, 7, 10 or more. And then I'm really passionate that they've read or attended these meetings, so they know what they're jumping into. So it's not just, you're not doing art, you're looking at public art throughout the city. You're involved in the Harrington Art Gallery, for example. So really do a little homework so you know you actually would like this position and you would thrive and you are able to meet the commitment of attending those meetings.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Carla, and updating us. And thank you for joining us. I'm Splendorio. Join us for the next episode of the Mayor's Report of Pleasanton right here on Tri-Valley TV. Thank you so much for watching.